you are fighting corruption. So you didn't fight corruption to fight illicit election funding. In 2015, you are not in power then. In 2019, you had the opportunity. You didn't change the currency then. So too often, this argument is projected that corruption is being fought, and therefore policies that are ruining us, that ruin people, that ruin the economy, that ruin lives, must be accepted. We must tolerate it. We must bear the hardship. I mean, these are the shenanigans we faced over the years, and I'm saying enough, enough. So
okay.
The Council of State, the governors, our stakeholders have had the dubious argument following the Supreme Court interim intervention that this is just a matter of policy. It's between the CBN and Nigeria. As if the CBN is a sovereignty on its own, is a country on its own, is independent. The monetary policy that the CBN superintends is the monetary policy of Nigeria. Okay? In the exclusive legislative list, in Schedule 2 of the Constitution, Item 15, on currency, coinage, and legal tender. That's an exclusive power to the federal government over which the National Assembly legislates. So there is a link here. Those who are thinking that the CBN is an island to itself, it can do whatever it likes with our lives, are wrong legally, and in reality, they are inventing sophistries to run away with these shenanigans. And what they've done, that is not the law. So the National Assembly has competence to regulate the CBN. It carries oversight functions. So regardless of the fact that the CBN Act 2007 has statutory independence that they talk about, that statutory independence granted the CBN is to ensure that it has operational efficiency. It is not a statutory independence granted for it to do what it's doing currently with our lives. If the argument were valid, that the CBN is an island itself, is accountable to no one and is responsible to no one, and therefore nobody could interfere in what it's doing on the critical issue of legal tender, which I've argued doesn't belong to the CBN alone. Why did the CBN government go to the chambers of the Federal Executive Council for the president to launch the money? So what has the president got to do with it? So why are they saying that the federal government is the one fixing the deadline? Is the one giving directives? So why is he running all over the place to meet with the president? If the CBN is an island unto itself, so why is Emefiole running all over the place to get the president back in on the matter? Therefore, in reality, the CBN does not operate as an island. In any case, for those who are suggesting that, because I've heard the argument, that those who thought that they are wiser than the Supreme Court. By the way, you can critique the judgment of the Supreme Court and its rulings. That's fair enough. Within the bounds of decency, and say, law, because judges also encourage judicial review, by the way, in learned journals.
Yeah.
But the point is that don't assume that those who are the Supreme Court do not know the law. Courts and judges have the power, so motu, lawyers say, to raise the issue of jurisdiction, so that when the matter was brought before the court and they gave that interim order, they could have asked the counsel to those 3 states, look, why are you here? Do you think that we have jurisdiction over this matter? We don't have, so we'll throw it out. They won't have to wait for any AGF or anybody to come and school them, or his hired lawyers to come and tell them that. They know the issue of jurisdiction, and they know that the CBN is an agency of the federal government. It's an agency of a disclosed principal. That principal is the federal government of Nigeria. And so when people then argue that, there is no dispute between the states and the federation on the issue, and that if the states have disputes with the CBN, what are they suggesting? States, sub-sovereigns, should now go to the Federal High Court, the federal government's court, to go and sue an agency of the federal government, CBN. Is that what they are suggesting? So all the states now, including Kano State and Ondo States, will now go before a federal high court in Abuja to say, Emefiole, we are suing you. Is that not silly? Okay, so there's a dispute, and the dispute is on the issue of the economy, over which the state governors have a right in the National Economic Council to deliberate, to talk about how these things have to be done over the monetary life of the Nigerian people, because Nigerians spend money in these states anyway, and their citizens are being impacted. And you are saying that they have no dispute. They have a dispute, and to my mind, the Supreme Court rightly intervened. In any case, given the fiasco that we're talking about, which the National Council of State has now intervened in by advising and giving a conditional support that, look, we support what you do, but make the Naira available and recirculate the old ones. How can anybody doubt the judicial and judicious essence and import of the Supreme Court as a stabilizer in offering that opportunity to a fumbling federal government and the CBN, apparently, to save face? So why could anybody go to that court and be challenging the jurisdiction of the court when the opportunity was offered on the platter of gold? You fumbled, you've messed up, you have not printed sufficient money. That's obvious. So stop scapegoating banks. Stop saying that they are holding money.
Let me quickly ask you. Let me ask you this. Sorry, I have to interject here. If you can hear me, sir, can you hear me? Yes.
I can understand it.
Yeah. Okay. Now, the Supreme Court ruling, of course, despite the Supreme Court ruling, I should say, the CBN hasn't said anything. The federal government too. Well, the Minister of Justice said the ruling will be obeyed, but then the CBN hasn't said anything, and then banks have sent messages to their customers. As a matter of fact, I got a message from my own bank telling me that the deadline still stands and that people must change their money, that nothing has changed. Is that a violation? Could we say that is a disregard for the ruling of the Supreme Court?
That's a contumacious and flagrant affront. It is a violation. And this is what we talked about. You know, the executive branch of government allows matters to suffer neglect and then crisis or call it things that can be arrested and then crisis that can be averted. Immediately that order was given, a face-saving order. The Attorney General ought to have issued a statement. The CBN ought to have come forward. We are complying with the order. You've even forgotten that the president promised 7 days. Has he resolved his thing within 7 days now? So it was an opportunity for them to save face. So, and then you are now saying, yes, we will obey the order. It's not open to the AGF to even debate on whether it's going to obey the order. The Attorney General of the Federation, yes, is an office created by Section 150 of the Constitution and granted broad power under Section 174. That office is very important. It's said to be the only ministerial post that is separately created under the Constitution and given powers therein. However, the AGF is not an appellate authority over the Supreme Court. He is not. Not to talk of the CBN. So really, it's not open to them to discuss whether they will obey the order or not. Section 287 of the Constitution is clear that the decision of our court, particularly the Supreme Court, is binding on all authorities and persons in Nigeria. Okay? And so, by not quickly obeying the directive and allow things to be the way they are, now bankers are now saying the deadline still holds and all that. What do they mean by the deadline still holds? Which deadline are they talking about? When, by their own showing, their Council of State are now come forward to say that recirculate the issue. And you know what I really think about this matter? So that you know how dire our situation is. Because people will be wondering. Unfortunately, we are not being offered explanation. My suspicion is that this policy was presented to this president, and the precedent of what he did, the 12-day magic he did during the military era in 1984, including the dirty side of it, the 53 suitcases belonging to the Emir of Congo, allegedly, through Major Jokolo at the airport then. So he was enamored of his past. Oh, you can do it. This is very important. You will live on the high and all that. And he bought into it, without question being asked about the implementation modalities. And after buying into it, this is and I feel strongly about it. They then realized down the road that the mint locally here does not have the installed capacity to quickly print this money in the desired quality. And that's who are even talking about the quality. Unlike in the past when they were printing this money outside the country.
Outside the country.
Here is Nigeria borrowing money from overseas to do things, not be able to have money. So will it borrow money from IMF now to print its own currency? And so it was discovered too late that the capacity was not there. But instead of them to come out and say, look, we're sorry. We know we've embarrassed the country. Pardon us. We are being patriotic. We thought that the means we have the capacity to do these things. We have now discovered that it doesn't have. They started imposing impossible conditions for Nigerians to
withdrawal limits.
Yes, and Nigeria now are in tears. Oh, you think that it's funny? I don't know what your experience is. I've been raising money on the streets. I'm saying that I'm GT Ogoye. I've been raising money on the streets. So Nigeria are trading in Naira. And rather than deal with the issue, Nigeria are now self-condemning, self-incriminating. Oh, they are bad. The bankers are stupid people. They steal money. Oh, the POS people, they are bad people. Oh, Nigeria are not people of conscience. A government has created a condition of dog eat dog. And instead of you to focus on that source, you are now, some people are saying, no, look at all the politicians and the opportunistic intervention. When the thing started, at the highest level, including those who are campaigning, they say, this is a very solid whatever, we'll fight whatever. By the turn of the time, the crisis was now boiling over, they started changing their statement. They don't have character and conscience and good judgment. This is not how you run the affairs of state. And so we have no other person to blame for this than the federal government, in particular the president himself. He inherited the CBN governor. He had every reason. In 2015, given the allegation they themselves were making about how the CBN was shelling out dollars to their political rivals during the election to demand the resignation of the CBN governor, and said, no, you can't do this. For 6 months, he was putting together his government. He didn't do that. Not only that, he then, when his tenure ended, the president renewed his tenure. So he had confidence in the CBN government. We thank him for that. Now look at the mess. So they have no other person to blame than themselves. So and they should stop.
Well, I'm afraid we just have to end the discussion here because
propaganda and sending all the anti-corruption agencies to go out. I was angry because I'm ever supportive of anti-corruption agencies. But when they start going to town using video to confuse Nigeria and all that, which are going to do with what is on the streets, where people are using Naira to purchase Naira in their own country, as if Nigeria is in a state of war. So what is wrong with us? So the Supreme Court has acted rightly, indeed, for the purpose of argument. Even if the Supreme Court had a doubtful jurisdiction on the matter, but given the issue of policy involved, had judiciously decided that, look, this intervention is warranted. Why would anybody in the circumstances, not to talk of those people who are carrying placards, those people hired
protesting against the decision of the Supreme Court.
What is wrong with us as a people? Why do we create crisis for ourselves like this? Why is the argument so skewed against the ordinary people? Election is coming. You say that yes, because you are fighting. What is my business with the election? We'll be conducting elections in Nigeria over and over and over again now. So it's because of election that Nigerians have now gone poorer, and people are not conducting surveys yet on the impact of this mandate on the economy, on the health, the poor health of our economy, in the long term. People are not conducting survey. When you use your money to be purchasing your money, well, even if 2,500 and all, Nigerians are going poorer. That is not what Nigerians deserve. So, my wish is to see that the federal government of Nigeria and the CBN will do the right thing. They will not even allow adjudication on the matter at the Supreme Court by going there to say that, look, we are going to comply. Don't do anything. We are making amends and all that. We will do everything normally and properly and all that. I have referenced the section 20 of the CBN Act that says that once you change legal tender for about 6 months, you will still need to, and this is done in other jurisdictions. People talk about international best practices. So have they forgotten about that now? Have they forgotten about the practice in England currently, where currency is being changed, and you take over a year more than for the old currency to, and as they do everywhere, why is the approach here always knee-jerk? Why is the approach here always calculated, seemingly, to humiliate the ordinary people?
Well, Mr. Agunya, I think we just have to end the discussion here because we're actually out of time. If you can hear me, yeah, we're actually we're actually out of time. Let's just wait and see what the president does with the advice of the National Council of State now. I mean, that advice is pretty clear. Print more or you recirculate the old currency. So let's wait and see what happens. But it would have been nice to hear the central bank say something about that Supreme Court ruling. Unfortunately, we haven't heard anything from the Supreme Court, and then the banks are busy telling everyone that
they can claim that they are not a party to it, so they can't say anything.
Okay.
So those who are a party to it have started saying something. So all it's right. Okay.
Okay, interesting. Thank you very much for your time, sir. Thank you so much for your contributions. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Don't go away.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the president of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On TV360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians are saying in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
TV360, dissecting the issues.
Welcome back. Now let's discuss serious politicking. As you know, political rallies have become a regular feature in elections across the world. And Nigeria, of course, is no exception. As the country prepares for the upcoming general elections, candidates of various political parties are busy holding campaign rallies across the country and attracting huge crowds at this rally. Now, from theme songs to stump speeches and even negative campaigning, politicians are known to deploy different campaign strategies now in a bid to sway eligible voters. Now, a candidate's every word, action, and even their perceived thoughts are displayed and of course, observed by members of the public, especially those who attend these rallies. One thing, though, is certain. Organizing these rallies are quite expensive, especially in Nigeria, where most times money is used to mobilize people to attend the rallies. And most times, of course, the candidates themselves only have just about 5 minutes to address the people, the crowd now at this rally. So the question is, do these rallies actually make any impact during elections, or they are more of a show of force? Let's discuss this some more. Joining me now, I have political affairs analyst Aki Fatunke, and I also have Dr. Kachan Onujuna, who is a political affairs analyst and, of course, a chieftain of the Labour Party. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming on the program. Let me start with you, Dr. Kach. Dr. Onujuna, I should say. Now, you look at these campaign rallies going on. You look at the crowds that attend these campaign rallies. You look at, especially the front runners in the presidential election. They keep attracting huge crowds at their rallies. The same states, they attract huge crowds. Sometimes you just find it difficult to tell the difference between the crowds of one party and the other. You get the impression that it's still the same group of people who attend one rally that actually attend the other and so forth. So do these rallies actually make any difference?
Yes. What you are describing, as I said, you're describing the current changes in our country. Our country used to do the old analog system of renting the same crowd within the same town, throwing the same rhetoric to them. But that is changing now. With the availability of social media, people are now doing what they call crowdfundings, as we're beginning now to see, organizing themselves. So yes, organizing themselves, communicating with each other after crowdfunding is new. Social media is also new to bring the news from far and wide to everybody instantly. Now, but it does not kill the old traditional methods of staging military kind of big rallies, big parades, you know, the military marches. These are the things of the past. It's not the same in other places where you have democracy.
Yes, and that's why I'm asking. These big rallies we see, and they're happening today, even though they're, as you said, traditional, but they're still happening. So these big rallies we see around the country today, do they make any difference at all in the actual election?
No. No, the big rallies only serve to sway emotions. For those who have not yet made up their minds, some of the big rallies can tell them or how to vote.
We appear to be losing you, Dr. Onujuna. We appear to be losing you. We can so while we try to figure out what the problem is, let me come to you, Mr. Fatunke. Give me your take on these huge rallies we see across the country.
Very, very interesting. There are two schools of thoughts. There is the school of thought, which is the received theoretical 2 + 2 = 4 kind of situation.
Okay.
And of course, there's this other school of thought that says 2 + 2 may be 5, because we are looking at it from the binary system. Practically speaking, I do not think, I may not necessarily agree with the import of my thoughts here, but I do not think that those crowds and those rallies are not making impact. I will draw a parallel. We all have, for instance, our religiosity. And when people just say, hey, wait a minute, you're going to see a Father Christmas or a Mother Islam somewhere or a Juju man somewhere, and everybody just troops out to go make a lot of noise because poverty, joblessness has been the order of the day. And so on a little pot of pottage, come on, let's go say it. Let's go say it. Religious perspective. The other perspective, of course, Mr. Bademosi and Nigerians listening to me, who also know that when it comes to the big thing, the big noise, the big boys, the big young boys that can pull crowds, where you can just go out there and go and shake here and there. You know, they also draw crowds. Some, you will be surprised, borrow money from somebody else to just go see. I want to see Buhari. Oh, I want to see Atiku Abubakar. Oh, I want to see my dear friend and brother Peter Obi. I want to see Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I want to see Kwankwaso. I want to see the other 18 because as far as we are concerned, we don't know a lot of them. So once they come and see American wonders. Now, one of them happens. The era of money politics is such that people are taking promissory notes. I repeat myself, people are taking promissory notes. Once you are able to go in there, we know what constituency you belong to. You know what's going to happen? We're going to give you water, we are going to give you lights, we are going to send your children to school. We know some of your people have been captured. We are going to try and find a way of bringing them back. Therefore, my posit is simple. Where you have not worked, where you have not applied yourself intelligibly to even understand the basics, what you just have is a big thing. So you go in there, you bring big bands, that's the time you are going to see some of the big bands, and you're going to shout here, you are going to shout there. Now, Catch was trying to make a point of now shifting to the social media. Absolutely no doubt about that, but the social media is not just now. The social media has been with us, plus or minus, effectively in Nigeria in the last 10 years. This time around, what you find is the same crowd going to see a Father Christmas yesterday, another Father Christmas has come today, another Father Christmas is going to come tomorrow. Let's just go out there and go and touch a lot, go and make a lot of noise.
Can I just ask a question? Do you think
70%
these crowds we see at these rallies, do you think they could, you could use that to measure the strength of these political parties in some of these places where these rallies are held?
It cannot be, in my mind. So if a rally is held in a zone A, it's the same people, unless if we are impugning that people are transported from one other zone to the same place, which I know is possible. But in this day, especially in this day and age of we wanted to go cashless, no money to spend, okay, promissory notes, it's almost very, very, very difficult. Those crowds are there to vent. Those crowds are there. They already made up their minds. Come or don't come, they already made up their minds because the emirs, the obas, the KBCs, the religious leaders have told them the area that they should go. So just go and see the American wonders. Kachi spoke very intelligibly about the fact that we may have undecided voters. Undecided voters are going to be swayed, not from those crowds that you are seeing there.
Okay.
From opinion molders. Opinion molders.
The point is, Mr. Fatuke, the point is, knowing that these rallies, these big rallies we see don't really make much of a difference in elections. Why do you think the political parties keep spending big on them?
Oh, yes. You remember Voltaire, the French philosopher, who told you, I come here in the morning, you hailing me. By the time I come in the evening, the same set of people will come and say, pull him down. Just go ahead and pull him down. I think the political parties are just merely trying to, try to, put across his point, that maybe they are undecided voters. Maybe they know some of the things they are going to see there. And I can tell you, in the remote areas, they still believe when they come for these rallies, they are still going to get some kind of freebies or some handouts. Now, when they don't get those freebies and handouts, when a Peter Obi comes around and they hear say an Atiku is going to come, hope spring eternal. Well, if Peter Obi is not going to do it, well, an Atiku will plug the gap. And if Atiku does not do it, Jagaban will come and plug the gap. Now, when all that now happens and nothing much has come to them, they now then depend on what you call promissory notes. Those promissory notes are the notes that are given to them by way of some brainwash. Okay, it's a Muslim, it's a Christian, or it's from this particular tribe, or it's not from that particular tribe, you know, it's a thief, it's all that. That is the area I think that you need to go. I did a bit of a forensic in asking a few questions. And I say, okay, this particular person that you say is your alpha and omega, how much of him do you know?
Yeah.
And I got to listen to the fact that sometimes it's not what they say, but the ability to be able to dance, you know, dance Kiss Daniel and the rest. They can know. So these people can dance. Oh my God. We are going to be seeing some of these bands that ordinarily we will never have been able to see in our lives. So let them begin to make such big noise. We just want to hear the noise. Arising from there may just be maybe 1% or 2% of likely undecided voters. But the rest are already made up their minds that this is the area that they are going to go. Unless if the opinion molders now come and say, yes, I told you, you should have gone right. Now I'm telling you, you should go left. That is what matters. It's just for the entertainment value, if you ask me.
And of course, we can't deny the fact that somehow it has some kind of economic value as well, especially when you consider the brisk business now that can be done when such rallies are held. I mean, people who sell, say, sachet water, for instance, people who sell different, you know, things around these rallies. I mean, it generates some kind of income for a lot of people. But then it's just a surprise that these political parties keep spending big on these
try to call it in economics naturally, and Mr. Badimosi, don't also forget that it also draws the other side. Hoodlums, people will pick your pockets.
Yeah.
People will make sure that you want to cry before you leave the place, and then not to talk about stampede. Don't forget, and let me delineate this point. Rallies and campaigns is recognized in our electoral acts as saying, go see the people. So it's a way of saying, well, I've been to you. I know plus or minus. If I put all my cards on the table, I have been able to tick 3 or 4 of a box of 8. Now you see me, even though after these rallies you may never see me again, or at least you have an opportunity that you have seen Mr. A, Mrs. B, Mr. C, Ms. D, and all that kind of stuff. I think it's basically just to try and tick the boxes. It's also a way of showing off in areas that these politicians know they have more bit of influence to now drive down these leg merchants. Go out there, go talk to your wife, go talk to her, and somebody now then comes, so I saw Mr. A, Mr. B. Don't sit down at all. They say to us that this is the way we should go. Please, that's the way I am going to go. They come back home and do some of those dance steps that you see that some of the presidential candidates do. And then the wives of those who cannot walk and all that kind of, we just begin to smile. Poverty upon poverty, ignorance upon ignorance does not take us nearer any way or any move.
Okay, let me just pause you there because let me pause you there because we have Dr. Ononuju who is back. Dr. Ononuju, sorry there was a problem with your audio, but you were making some kind of point to me about these political rallies and that they actually don't make any difference at all in the actual voting itself. So the question is, why then do these political parties spend big on these rallies? I mean, especially when we know the rallies actually don't make much of a difference during elections.
there is a lot of things we do not know. We never used to poll data. We never also had candidates speak directly to the people. It was always using proxies and surrogates to speak. This was the first election in which the candidate kept speaking to the people, kept talking to the people. By the time the official period for elections were on, he had already made that communication. So he changed the dynamics. So in issues of how also to get the people, either through campaigns or through other systems, you can be rest assured our country is changing. You can see how politicians are panicking. Despite the monies, the structures, the affinity to those in power, the people who were reached from data after data, from polling company after polling company, had the results. So we're beginning now to use data. We will, with time, find out what works, what doesn't work, and be able to follow those things that work.
So are you saying a time will come when these rallies will just become useless and in fact
will become a thing of the past. The rallies in Nigeria are not the same as the rallies elsewhere. Yet, all we have everywhere is democracy. What you had was the army organized show. You go hire the people because of poverty. And then after you use them, another party can come the next week, hire the same set of people, use them to present pictures. So what the Labour Party has done was to say, no, the organically instigated crowd that crowdfunded themselves should now bring themselves to the rallies.
Well, we're actually not talking about the Labour Party here, because we do not know for sure that all the crowds, I mean the crowds you have at these rallies are organic in the sense that they funded themselves and all of that. Because I know for sure, as a journalist, I cover some of these rallies too, and I know for sure that some of these rallies are, people are mobilized. That's just the truth. People are mobilized. But what my question is, if these rallies do not make much of a difference, I'm just wondering why politicians spend big on them. Because whether we like it or not, if you do the mathematics, the cost of organizing these rallies, the cost is quite high, and it adds to this making elections expensive in this country.
No. You can do rally if you wish. Kwankwaso has chosen not to do rally. Nobody has arrested him.
No, but he's doing rallies.
He's doing rallies. Good. Mr. Peter Obi wasn't doing rally. He was talking.
But he's doing rallies now.
The movement embraced him. There are other traditional parties that rely on the old method of rallies. But I believe going forward, we will start looking at data and to be able to apply what works, and in that same state, abandon what doesn't work. I see a change in society, and I will beg you to please be patient. As we learn what works, we will do more of that. As we see the things that don't work, maybe sometimes you could allow them just for the nostalgic effects of the masquerade being seen, just to show the size of the masquerade, to also boost the amount of crowd size you can mobilize. It is good we're having this discussion, but you should understand society will change. I have seen mobilizations plus the idea of bring your own organized crowd. When you bring that organized crowd, that you go through crowdfunding, you become a member of what we are doing. Instead of the other system of ownership of political structures, I think is now changing. That's what we're seeing, and that's why, as you're trying to state, the rallies in the old forms may not be sustainable. Let's watch. We are watching.
Okay. Mr. Faruq, I'll let you have the last word. Do you think a time will come when these rallies will just disappear?
Of course, society naturally changes. Education and enlightenment naturally should change. I haven't seen that movement in our educational system that has changed our paradigm. Go look at the statistics. And that is where I slightly disagree with Kachi. Yes, at the end of the day, the substance, whatever it is that you want, is not going to come out from there. But that is where you go to go and get some kind of raw materials, feel heat. People still run into camps and religious grounds after they get the prayers. They have not done the things that they need to do to get the value of those prayers, so they get nothing. The following day, they'll still go, hoping against hope. So all political parties, especially the front runners, have realized this as a strategy. Just go out there, let's go for show. Let's go jump up and down. Let's go feel free. Let's go feel high. Try to be high. And that from there, one thing may lead to another, not necessarily things that are going to lift us forward. They are not interested, like Professor Lumumba said, they are not interested in all your big grammar about bringing education here and there. What you have for us in the stomach. And these political parties, without exception, realize that that is a game plan. And it's the reason why they are doing it. Let's go do it. Yeah, at the end of the day, when I get the prize, and I can have a very nice, fine change of scene, I can now then begin to look at things that will matter to their lives. I'll begin to look at security, I'll begin to look at education, I'll begin to look at employment, I'll begin to look at all this jackpot syndrome, and then come back. But go out there and begin to speak all the grammar, and begin to say that you are the next best thing to Solomon. They will tell you, my friend, just go sit down there. But go out there and go and do the Palongo dance. You will see people begin to shout, again, the bottom line, does it take us a bit forward? No. For yesterday, for today, for tomorrow, hopefully, when we begin to do the right things, when we begin to plant the right seed, we begin to now then harvest where we should really be going. Nigeria, I still maintain, is not one man, one vote. Where it is going to be one man, one vote, then the prescription that Kachi and my friend is talking about then becomes, these people hardly are able to differentiate between what is good for them and their families and what is good for their belly.
Unfortunately, we'll run out of time. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming on the program. Dr. Kach Ononuju, who is a political affairs analyst and, of course, a chieftain of the Labour Party. Thank you very much for your time, sir. And Mr. Aki Fatunke, thank you so much for your time as well. Thanks a lot.
God bless you.
All right, that's how much we can take on the program this week. We thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.
Our chop, make a chop attitude to governance, now what is spoil Nigeria reach today. Refineries of quick fixing. NNPC recently signed an agreement with Daewoo Construction Nigeria Limited for the rehabilitation of the Kaduna Refinery in what was described as a proposed quick fix initiative expected to restore the refinery to a minimum of 60% of its capacity by the fourth quarter of 2024 at a cost of $740.6 million. Oh boy, see money. NNPC claimed that the last time this refinery was maintained, or what they call turnaround maintenance, was 15 years ago. Even a same refinery with refining capacity of 110,000 barrels per day has not produced any fuel for years. But we all know recently recorded a loss of 22.9 billion naira in 2021. You are not working, just a chop money. Even though we agree that restoring the Warrior and Kaduna refinery back to its operation will guarantee energy security for the country and reduce our dependence on imported petroleum products, also reduce pressure on forests, guarantee fuel supply, eradicate long queues in our filling station, and end this debate about should there be subsidy or not. But I want to ask, is it quick fix that is needed for a refinery that has not been functional or maintained for 50 years, 15 years, or a complete overhaul, rehabilitation, and revamping? What is the working capacity of the nitrogen plant in Kaduna Refinery? At least Warri own, we know say not even get. To at least to guarantee preservation of the equipment, since almost all the equipment go down corrode, including the storage tanks and the pipelines within the refinery. Even the power plant in the refinery has not been working. As we all know, say, now PHCN, they power the refinery. When PHCN on their own, they use generator on their own office. Nigeria, our own DM motherland. If you are quick fixing a 110,000 barrel refinery at the cost of $740 million, how much do you need to build an entirely new refinery of such capacity? We like to spend money uselessly here. Is Daewoo a refinery construction or maintenance company where they don't build refinery before, where they don't maintain one before? What happened to the original builders of this refinery? Also, since Kaduna no get seaports that we can use VLCC, large vessels to carry crude to, how NNPC want to transport crude from the Niger Delta to Kaduna if not be pipeline? What is the operational capacity or integrity of this pipeline to determine if they can still carry crude to the refinery? Considering the fact that the pipeline, having been unoperational for years, would have been corroded by water, insecurity, and vandalism. Was any integrity test conducted on the pipeline? And what is the outcome of this integrity test? What is the value of the contract for repairing, overhauling, revamping, or quick fixing the said pipeline and storage facility, if at all? What alternative means, if any, is NNPC going to use to transport crude from Niger Delta to Kaduna, if not pipeline? Why is Nigeria building gas pipeline to Europe if pipelines are no longer necessary? Anyway, hope this would end up as the case of the Omoku power plant that was built and commissioned by Odili and Obasanjo, if you can remember those days, only for them to discover on the day of commissioning that there was no gas pipeline built and connected to the power plant that will gas the power plant to power it. We even hear say that night they used generator to take commission, and Omoku people sleep for darkness even though they had a power plant. How do you award a contract to quickly fix a refinery when never worked for years to people when never built or repair refinery before? And yet, also no contract to fix the pipelines when we carry crude go the refinery. Would they think at all for this country? Anyway, I hope this quick fix no be last minute cleaning up for some people in government. Now. I will therefore advocate that whilst we are debating about the political parties and their candidates, or my thief is better than your thief, we should not lose sight of the facts of the happenings around government ministries, parastatals, and agency. We should consistently scrutinize the activities and seek answers to pertinent questions concerning any contract awarded at this time. As this time usually is a quick cleanup for certain persons. We know quick fix has never fixed anything. So hope they are not quick fixing this money into their pocket. Remember, if you remove your eyes from government activities at this critical time, you'll be shocked to realize after the election that you not only meet an empty treasury, even the treasury box, somebody don't whisk them away. That's all time will permit us to take for today. But for previous episodes, just follow us on all our social media platforms shown on your screen, and there are loads of them there. And like we say in law, you can't put something on nothing and expect it to stand. It will fall like a pack of cards. So even those stealing and destroying our pipelines are part of the general problem of Nigeria. So report pipeline vandalism. See you next week.
COVID-19 is an infectious disease caused by a new coronavirus introduced to humans for the first time. It is spread from person to person, mainly through the droplets produced when an infected person speaks, coughs, or sneezes. These droplets can land in the mouths or noses of people who are nearby. These droplets are too heavy to travel far in the air. They only travel approximately 1 meter and quickly settle on surfaces. This is the reason person-to-person spread is happening mainly between close contacts. The exact time that the virus can survive on surfaces is not yet known. So it is wise to clean surfaces regularly, particularly in the vicinity of people infected with COVID-19. Hands touch many surfaces, which can be contaminated with the virus. You should therefore avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth, since contaminated hands can transfer the virus from the surface to yourself. When coughing or sneezing, cover your mouth and nose with the bend of your elbow or use a disposable tissue. If a tissue is used, discard it immediately into a closed bin. The most effective way to prevent the spread of the new coronavirus is to clean your hands frequently with an alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. This will eliminate the virus if it is on your hands. Stay healthy and prevent the spread of COVID-19.
On the news tonight, CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele meets President Buhari, appeals to Nigerians to accept CBN's redesigned Naira policy. U.S. returns $954,000 Alamesia loot. And IGP to deploy over 400,000 joint security personnel across polling units. Many thanks for joining us on News Now. I am Folashade Ogurinde. Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Godwin Emefiele, has appealed to Nigerians to allow the Naira redesign policy of government to work. Speaking with newsmen on Thursday after meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari and House ad hoc committee on Naira redesign and swap policy at the State House in Abuja, the CBN governor said allowing the currency swap to work will go a long way to help the nation's economy. Emefiele will disclose that he has met with the leadership of at least 15 commercial banks, said the meeting was to ensure an ample supply of the 200 Naira notes to alleviate the sufferings of Nigerians. Emefiele's visit comes hours after the president, in a televised message, announced that only the 200 Naira note will remain a legal tender until April 10th, 2023.
We are all servants. We're serving Nigerians. As far as I'm concerned, the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation has spoken on this matter, and the President has sealed the whole of the issues this morning in his broadcast. And I think I can only just appeal to Nigerians, let's allow this policy to work. This policy is one policy that goes to solve the problem of reducing corruption and illicit financial flows. This policy goes to resolve some of the problems in the economy. This policy also goes to reducing the level of insecurity in the country. So these three issues, which are the tripod of this administration's policy, are all embedded in this policy. We should just allow it to work. We keep saying this. There are some temporary pains, but I can assure Nigerians that the long-run benefit to Nigeria is overwhelming, and we should just give it a chance to work. The President has given his directives. I have met with about 15 banks this morning. Later, I'm giving them directives about how they should make all the old 200 naira notes available, effective today. And I can assure Nigerians that this will help to reduce the pains. We meet with the bankers at least once daily to get feedback and the rest of them. And I think we should just allow this policy work. The pains, temporary pains, are regrettable, but I can assure Nigerians that it will be well.
On February 15th, the Supreme Court adjourned the hearing of the case brought against the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, on the Naira redesign policy. A seven-man member panel of the Apex Court led by John Okoro also said there was no need to issue a fresh order as the interim order is pending the hearing on the motion on notice. The development, which left many Nigerians confused, got more complicated on Thursday morning when President Muhammadu Buhari, in a national address, declared the old 200 naira notes legal until April the 10th, but insists that the old 500 naira and 1,000 naira notes are no longer legal tenders. So does this latest directive invalidate the order of the Supreme Court? Monday Ubani, second Vice President, Nigerian Bar Association, NBA, joins me now to share his insight. As always, thank you very much for joining us. Now, Nigerians are left wondering whether or not the old 500 naira and 1,000 naira notes remain legal tender.
Announcement of the President today, because the notes you mentioned, the 500 and 1,000 tender, they cannot be accepted as a medium of exchange. The only currency note that is old that is supposed to be used going by investment is only 200 notes. So if you now have 500 and 1,000, you have to pass through the legal process of returning it back to the central bank corridor, not through the commercial bank. That is import of what the president has done today, and it's clearly at variance interim order of the Supreme Court, which was said that the gold currency should still be in circulation on grievances that have been brought before the Supreme Court. That was adjourned 2nd or 23rd of February.
Now, Mondo Ubani, I would like you to please increase the volume of your voice when answering this next question. But I would like to know, the Supreme Court has given an order, and the President has also said, hey, the 200 naira notes can be spent until a certain time, but for the 500 and 1,000 naira notes, it can no longer be a legal tender. So where does this place the Supreme Court in terms of the judiciary and checks and balances between the three arms of government?
I think that the president today, by that announcement, snubbed the Supreme Court's order. There was an interim order restraining the executive with going ahead with the deadlining the old currency notes. And so it is clearly a snub. And if they ran by that announcement in contempt of what the Supreme Court has actually ordered, that should be in existence until the motion on notice is here. And so where it has placed the Supreme Court is that the executive has actually lowered the dignity and respect that is accruable to Supreme Court, because it's a clear, flagrant disobedience to the Supreme Court order. Well, this government has been noted for disobeying court orders. So this is not the first. Of course, we are aware of Nnamdi Kanu's order also that was given at the Court of Appeal. And up to now, there is no restraining order. There is no stay of execution of that particular order, and it has not been obeyed by the government. There are several orders, Idasuki, so many other judgments, even the El Sasaki and all that, so many others have been made against government that they have disobeyed. So this is not the first. So they are known for disobedience to court order. So what is going on is that it will go down in history that this government was one of the most disobedient government to court judgments. That is what we go down in history as probably number one, if not the highest.
Well, Monday Ubani, second Vice President, Nigeria Bar Association, NBA, thank you very much for your time and your contribution. The U.S. and the Nigerian government have signed a deal to return $954,000 that was allegedly stolen by Deportation Alameye, former governor of Bayelsa State. Beatrice Jedi Agba, the nation's Solicitor General and Permanent Secretary of the Federal Ministry of Justice, and Mary Beth Leonard, the U.S. Ambassador to Nigeria, both signed on behalf of their respective nations. Jedi Agba said the president has ordered that the repatriated funds be used to upgrade the healthcare facilities in Bayelsa State. Also speaking on the development, U.S. Ambassador to Nigeria Mary Beth Leonard said the official salary of the former governor during his tenure as a public servant from 1999 to his impeachment in 2005 did not match the said amount. And now to political matters. The Inspector General of Police, IGP Usman Al-Khali Baba, says a total of 404,106 security operatives will be mobilized for the February 25 presidential poll. According to the police chief, the security personnel jointly comprise the police, the Department of State Services, Army, Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, correctional officers, National Drug Law Enforcement agencies, among others. He explained that the deployment will cover the National Collation Center in Abuja, as well as other collation centers across the state, and 774 LGAs. He added that the police would not be allowed to offer escort services to VIPs during the election days, warning those planning to foment trouble to be wary.
Much as the Nigeria Police has perfected plans to engender a peaceful electoral process, the following have been identified as possible challenges: continuous and targeted attacks on INEC facilities by subversive anti-democratic elements, inter-party crisis and intra-party violence, 5, hate speeches, political intolerance, and extremism, as well as anti-democratic conduct of some state governors and other strategic political actors which could inflame the political space. From INEC records, there exist 176,846 polling units in 8,809 wards of the 36 states of the Federation and FCT, where the elections will be conducted. The Nigeria Police, with support of other security agencies, have perfected plans to deploy in a coordinated and collaborative manner to cover all these locations. The deployment will cover the National Collation Center in Abuja, as well as other collation centers across the states of the Federation, the FCT, and the 774 local government areas of the Federation. In view of the above, the Nigeria Police will deploy 310,973 personnel for the election security operations. This will comprise of conventional policemen, the mobile policemen, the Special Counter-Terrorism Unit, the Special Forces, Intelligence Response Team, and other sections of the police.
The flag bearer of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has maintained a lead in a third and final nationwide opinion poll commissioned by ANAP Foundation and conducted by NOI Polls Limited. The third poll, which was concluded in the first half of February 2023, followed two earlier polls carried in September and December 2022. According to the president and founder of ANAP Foundation, Atedo Peterside, Peter Obi of the Labour Party remains in the lead, with Bola Tinubu of the All Progressives Congress, APC, and Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party, both trailing him, while Rabiu Kwankwaso of the New Nigeria People's Party emerged as the lone outsider. In a related development, the Nigerian Human Rights Commission, NHRC, has come out with projections on the February 25 presidential elections following the opinion poll conducted in collaboration with various researchers and consultants in Nigeria. The NHRC poll revealed that the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Bola Tinubu, holds the lead, while the second is between People's Democratic Party candidate Atiku Abubakar and Labour Party candidate Peter Obi. Speaking in Lagos on Thursday, the General Secretary of the NHRC, Taiwo Adeleye, said Tinubu leads in the four most populous states, that is Lagos, Oyo, Kano and Borno, which may have contributed to him leading.
The study employed random sampling with emphasis on urban and rural population, with focal point on the voting age of 18 and above. The data collected were analyzed using the statistical package for social services. Using the statistical package for social services by 25 software to ensure the accuracy and fidelity of the results. Findings from the work across the length and breadth of the country are presented in two broad sections, aggregated and disaggregated by zone and state for easy comprehension. The aim of the poll is to determine the fears and aspirations of voters across party lines towards the 2023 general election. The data collection analysis focused on registered party members with PVC, which comprises men, women, youth, and people living with disabilities. The Nigerian Human Rights Community poll revealed that the presidential candidate of the All Progressive Congress, Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Shetima, holds a significant lead and is on course to win the 2023 general election. The polls also confirm a two-horse race for the second position between Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party and Peter Obi of the Labour Party, while Rabiu Kwankwaso of the NNP came a distant fourth, as others scored an insignificant total.
While still in politics, Governor of Rivers State has ruled out the possibility of him and his political allies reaching a last-minute deal with Atiku Abubakar, presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. Speaking at the media chat, Wike said the time frame for resolving the grievance of the G5 is over and he's not ready to sit down with anybody again. In the past few months, several attempts at reconciliation have failed to yield desired results by some party stakeholders. Wike and his allies, including Seyi Makinde of Oyo, Samuel Autumn of Benue State, Okoze Ikpeazu of Abia, and Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi of Enugu, have excluded themselves from the party's presidential campaign over calls for Iyorchia Ayu to step down as the national chairperson. Political support groups for APC presidential candidate Bola Tinubu has urged Nigerians to engage in constructive criticism to avoid unnecessary tensions as the general elections draw near. The groups Think Tinubu Movement and Renewed Hope Ambassadors of Nigeria made the call at the stakeholders' engagement and launch of a book titled The Recount, an Antidote to Unfair Criticism, at Asiwaju Bola Tinubu on Wednesday in Lagos. Speaking at the event, Tuji Ashaolu, Chairman, Technical Committee, Civil Societies Directorate of the APC, said the menace of trolling and negative criticisms in the political sphere across the country should be nipped in the bud.
Down to the community, to the grassroots, that this man, as he has offered himself to serve people, we should give him and support him and give him that mandate. Hopefully, just like the song that they are singing, that the reign of Asawaju will bring an end to poverty, will bring an end to, I don't have money to go to school, will bring an end to insecurity, because he's a man that I believe that he knows what to do, that nobody can cage.
In the whole of the African continent, If you're going to anywhere, you say you're going to Lagos, because all the good things of life are in Lagos. You talk about good roads, they're in Lagos. You talk about good schools, they're in Lagos. You talk about comforts, is in Lagos. You talk about social life, is in Lagos. You talk about security, is in Lagos. You talk about great edifices in Lagos. You just name them. Everything resides in Lagos here because of the visionary leadership of one person, His Excellency Distinguished Senator Asiwaju, who was able to reposition Lagos, who was able to relay, the hope and aspirations of Lagosians, who has been able to do a lot of things, beautify the place. He gave the place a facelift, and also, most importantly, he has also written down the blueprint that successive governments come and they take over from where the next person stops.
This is politics. Anybody can say whatever they like. Even a bad man knows himself is a bad man. Let alone a man who is loved by many. So we'll still have somebody who will complain for one thing or the other. But then they'll come out. Let's talk it out together with them. I can tell you for free that in every household, and if it is 10 members of the family, 9 will love actually.
We'll take a break here, but still to come. Voter registration starts in rebel-hit Eastern DR Congo. Details of the story and more rights after this break. Welcome back. Now here is a recap of some of our top stories tonight. Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Godwin Emefiele, has appealed to Nigerians to allow the Naira redesign policy of government to work. Speaking with newsmen on Thursday after meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari and House ad hoc committee on Naira redesign and swap policy at the State House in Abuja, the CBN governor said allowing the currency swap to work will go a long way to help the nation's economy. We also told you that the U.S. and the Nigerian government have signed a deal to return $954,000 that was allegedly stolen by Deportation Alameye, former governor of Bayelsa State, British Jedi Agba, the nation's Solicitor General and Permanent Secretary of the Federal Ministry of Justice, and Mary Beth Leonard, the U.S. ambassador to Nigeria, both signed respective nations. And in case you missed any of our news bulletin, for more updates, you can catch us on Limex World TV or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria. On Facebook, we are TV360 Online. For the first time in 3 years, all the land borders in Ivory Coast are now open. In a briefing, the country's Council of Ministers on Favorable Health and Economic Development since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic mean it is now safe to lift COVID restriction. The Council further revealed that reopening of borders is also to crack down on illegal crossings and redirect travelers to official border posts instead. 10,000 COVID-19 deaths have been recorded globally in 1 week. The World Health Organization disclosed this at a virtual media briefing on global health issues on Wednesday. Speaking on the development, WHO DG Tedros Ghebreyesus said though hospitalizations and deaths have declined, 10,000 deaths in a week is too many for a preventable disease. We'll take a breather now and be back with more stories to stay with us.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
The president must see himself as the president of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On DG360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it. Use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
DG360, dissecting the issues.
Welcome back. Let's join Simi Soladigun for more stories and business. Over to you, Simi.
Thank you very much, Falashade. Welcome to Business News. The Federal Executive Council, FEC, has approved $53.1 million and 2.1 billion naira as a local component for the procurement and installation of electricity conductors to boost power supply across the country. Minister of Power Abubakar Aliyu made this known when he briefed State House correspondent on the outcome of the Council's meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari on Wednesday in Abuja. He said the conductors, when installed, would help address the challenge of constant tripping of circuit breakers due to the overloading of electricity lines. Aliyu added that the new conductors would be used to upgrade existing power lines to enhance their efficiency.
These are existing lines which are being upgraded. The wires will be removed and new ones put in place. The difference from the new wires from the old ones are the new ones will be more efficient. They carry more load than the old wires. And you will reduce sagging. Once the wires are aged, they will sag and they become vulnerable and they become more heavy, and if you are changing them, you have to also change the stands carrying the wires. So these ones are lighter and can carry more electricity. So it will improve the efficiency and the challenges that we are facing of constant tripping of the breakers due to overloading of these lines will be tremendously reduced. So this is what this reconductoring is aimed to achieve.
We'll take a short break here and return with the stock market report. Stay with us. With more purchase of penny stocks, the Nigerian stock market furthered by 0.03% on Thursday, and that's 8 billion naira. The market's all-share index and its market capitalization also increased to 54,521 basis points and 29.7 trillion naira. For the third time this week, Triple G PLC leads the gainers with 9.7% share price appreciation, closing at 1 naira 81 kobo per share, followed closely by Japo Gold and Ventures. Now, Thursday's market activity shows that investors exchanged 125 million volume of shares valued at 3.6 billion naira in 2,670 deals. Now, to our select foreign stocks, it's another day of mixed trading, with the UK's FTSE and Japan's Nikkei stocks going further up by 0.18% and 0.71%. Now, the US Dow Jones stocks fell on Thursday after another hot inflation report and a decline in jobless claims, while showing that the economy is holding up amid the Federal Reserve's rate hikes. That's it on the stock market report. Back to you, Falashadi.
Many thanks, Ms. Sula, for that update. And on the foreign scene, the electoral body in the Democratic Republic of Congo says it has started voter registration in 7 provinces in the eastern parts of the country, where millions of civilians have been displaced by fighting between the army and rebels. The Independent National Electoral Commission said voters will be registered in the volatile provinces of Ituri and North Kivu, as well as in the U.S. and Canada. Voter registration across the country started in December and has so far seen at least 12 million people register as voters. Manchester United will be guests to Spanish La Liga giants Barcelona at the Nou Camp in Thursday's Europa League first leg playoff clash. United started this year's Europa League group stage on the wrong foot with a narrow 1-0 home defeat against Real Sociedad, but responded well with 5 successive victories. The Red Devils will be keen to improve their record against Spanish opposition, as they have won only 3 of their last 14 knockout fixtures in European competition. And that's the size of our news bulletin. Many thanks for watching. I am Falashadi for Green Day. Bye for now.
Thanks for joining us on News Now at this time.
Protest in Lagos.
Thank you for joining us again on the newsroom. The Lagos State Emergency Management Authority was serving for Western Media School, 1 bedroom and the rampant illegal spectrum frequencies.
The bulls took over the wheels on the Nigerian stock market today as sellers eased.
You look at Lagos and you'll think you're in one big dustbin, residents say, as they narrate ordeals with pollution. According to the World Bank, at least 30,000 people die yearly in Lagos due to pollution, and the tales told by some residents bear witness to these statistics. This is home to over 300 families who reside in Itiresurulere on the Mushin local government area, a community built around the canal that has been transformed into a home recognized by the Lagos state government. Gaining entrance and a mixture of different putrid smell welcomes you. Children running around exposed to the biohazard, chemical hazard and physical hazard of living in this area.
So many years now we don't face this mess. If you can look around, you can take a cameraman to observe the area. Even you, where they talk to me, they perceive some odors. We get some small children here. She be una see us here. We dey chop here, we dey feed here. We are women, we are not Nigerians. Some days ago, one big rain go fall for this area. Small pikin for that park wey dey that side. Water carry pikin go. If you ask anybody for this area, they will tell you the story. And they come from mosque, so as I hear the story. But today now, okay, imagine the dirty around and all that. Rain never fall. If rain fall now, all this dirty now, you go enter person's house, you go enter anywhere. Cholera everywhere.
I think Benin okay, at might be 15 years. Okay. Tajowanino Adubwe. So tie Adubwe. But when they say titi Adiba and be responsible for I believe by on my gbogbo water you know. Won dey ba wa se but nsìn bí ọmọ ṣe ń gbó bí ọmọ tí òjò wá gbé lọ lọ́jọ́ yẹn ló mú anybody gan tara because ìgbà tó ń bọ̀ wá láti Jímọ̀ lọ́jọ́ yẹn Jímọ̀ ni wọ́n lọ wọ́n ń bọ̀ wá àwọn ọmọ yẹn wá mọ ibi tí orí pákó yẹn wà mọ́ àwọn méjì náà fara wọn lọ́wọ́ ìkíní bó ṣe bọ́ sínú odò nìyẹn ìkejì olówó ń fẹ́ lọ fà ó fẹ́ rọ̀ fà yọ bómi ṣe gbé yẹn lọ́n tiẹ̀ nìyẹn tó ti àwa rọ ìjọba kan bá wa ṣe àdúgbò wa kó dáa.
I was born here. This is my year of 25 years now in this area. You understand? And this area now have been dirty for so years. When I was in small self, I was seeing all this kind of thing. Talk less of now that I've already been gotten hold. And still yet, the area is still like this. You understand? And I want government to come and do here so that it will be okay. So that water will not be flowed everywhere. This dirty now is not from only here. The dirty now from under side and other side too. They used to come here to come and jump hard, you understand? And when it jump hard, it affect us that lives around because the water does not flow. Assuming it's flowing now, we will not be complaining. Let them come and help us and do it so that this dirty now will not be just jump hard and be staying, so that we will not be feeling sick.
Party packs, pep bottles, feces and other forms of bacteria-carrying components are the aesthetics around the surrounding. Having lived for many years, some of the residents I spoke to say they strongly believe the state government does not care about their lives or living conditions.
We dey pray for Nigerian government to help us for the environment, to help us, make government sef come look this place, make them know wetin to do for us so that we sef go live better life as a good Nigeria wey we be.
àwa rọ ìjọba kan bá wa ṣe àdúgbò wa kó dáa kan dẹ̀ bá wa ṣe environment wa kó dáa because bómi ṣe ń gbé ọmọ lọ kó dáa kan bá wa ṣe bíríìjì bẹ̀yẹn ṣó ti yé kan bá wa ṣe bíríìjì bẹ̀yẹn kó cross omi ó lè bá máa lọ because táwọn èèyàn bá ti ń lọ free kò ní sí pé bóyá omi ń gbọ́mọ lọ.
This place cannot take them just even though how many just a 6 months they will do it because of the corruption. Make some people, local government council, they will take off the money and put it in their pocket, eat it, and why we are suffering it.
In his journey to preach about healthy living and further prevent the spread of infectious diseases, public health expert Nsiabasi Ekonem joined me to this community where he says living in such an environment has long-term implications.
People are living here. There's a high level of pollution in these places such that even the air, the effluent from this place is really stinky, and that tells to air pollution. This air pollution affects people that are living here because you can see young children of under 5 years that are staying in this very dirty environment. That increases the advent of childhood diseases like cholera, diarrhea, dysentery, scabies, ringworm, dandruff, all those kind of skin diseases as a result of the contact with water from this very unhealthy environment. Because there is defecation, open defecation here, when the water comes up, it carries those feces and deposits them in open water sources like wells, and people fetch water from that well. This leads to waterborne diseases like cholera, like amoebic dysentery, hepatitis A and E, just all kinds of waterborne diseases.
Streets littered with waste, open defecation, air pollution and the likes are what residents of the commercial nerve center of Nigeria are faced with on a daily basis. In Lagos, environmental pollution is the order of the day. Residents deal with a suffocating mix of air pollution, improper solid waste disposal, and other forms of pollution in the city streets, leaving many residents battling with respiratory problems, flooding, and other illnesses.
The plastic waste, the rubber waste are the most dangerous because they do not decay. A lot of this plastic waste, they are not well disposed. They are not disposed of properly and they find their way into the drains. In Lagos State today, anywhere you find yourself, just open up the drains. Just open up the drainage system if it's covered. If it's not covered, it's obvious there. And you see a situation where when rain falls, a particular line of the drainage system, you see that waters are not flowing along that line because it's blocked. Now we have in Lagos State the collectors were registered. Some of these trucks can't even get to the residence of a lot of the people living in the communities. So people have to converge at a particular point. Now, when they dump the waste there, it takes a while before the collectors, the trucks arrive there to pick up the waste. That's another issue, which is another environmental issue. So the collection in itself is poor. And you see some of these trucks collecting this waste. When they even collect the waste on the road, you see it's part of the waste dropping on the road.
You look at Lagos, you think that you are in one big dustbin. Some people are in a bit cleaner part of the dustbin. But say huge dustbin we're in. This is not a city. Let's. Which part of the city you want to tell me? Tell me. I've gone around. Is it Lekki? Is it Ikoyi? Or you want to tell me it's Ajegunle or Yanokwaja?
The way we live is also a problem. We have three important channels. We have the tertiary canals, we have the secondary canals, we have the primary canals. The tertiary canals is the one you see in front of your houses. Those ones are people called gutter in front of our houses. If that one in front of our houses is clean, the secondary canal will be clean. The primary canal, the big one, will be clean. And therefore you see a steady flow into the lagoon. But that tertiary canals in front of our houses where people dump in the dead of the night. When it is raining, they will go. When in the dead of the night, they will just go. Even people who should know better. People with full dose of Western education, you see them dropping those things inside the canal. That has been our problem. Because if the tertiary drains are okay, you won't see anything in the secondary drains. You won't see anything in the primary canals. You won't see anything in the lagoon.
While the megacity still practices the creation and maintenance of dump sites, which are situated close to the abode of residents, and with the monies doled out for the management of waste in the state, locals still suffer as a result of improper disposal of waste. These and many more prompted this investigation by TV360 Nigeria on why residents are made to deal with loss of lives and properties, and to get answers on if the state government is up to the task of making provisions for proper waste disposal and drainage maintenance.
The attitude is a problem, and Lagos spends a lot of money in cleaning the canals, dredging, constructing, that's giving it concrete alignments so that it will be easy for you to clean. There are so many of them, so we are taking it one after the other, one after the other. But the problem is the attitude of Lagosians. If you are driving on the corridor, you see them dropping it from their vehicles, dropping it. Thank God we have sweepers. We have thousands of sweepers in Lagos. By 5 o'clock, they're already on the street taking those things. It could have been worse. So we are thinking, because we are thinking out of the box. What do? We are coming to the age of dikes. That's what is called dikes. That is using concrete wall to prevent, water from coming into the city. We're introducing pumps. And another one is to provide a kind of tunnel, a well, very deep well, where you allow this, this flood to go in. Thereafter, now you use pump to throw it into the lagoon.
With the increase in spate of indiscriminate dumping of waste in Lagos State, the mortality rate from pollution is set to witness a spike. In 2021, the state governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu said his administration has spent over 2 billion naira on the rehabilitation of dump sites across the state, while another 1 billion naira is being invested to provide the necessary infrastructure for waste management. If these projects have been carried out, residents are yet to witness the results or see an improvement in waste management.
We're seeing recurrent cases of Lassa fever. Lagos is not spared. Of course, the rats go there, eat, pick jams, transfer to people, and then the same thing now we're having monkeypox. So in reality, if we deal with the challenges of waste alone, I am sure that our health system will be good. Our health itself will be good. Now, when you now get to the waterways, plastic floating, dead animals floating, dead human being floating, microplastic dropping into the water, fish swallowing them, we eating the fish. It's a scandal. It's honestly a scandal. I think the more we put attention to the challenges of the environment and how waste is handled in this part of the world, the better for us. A mega city, 25 million people, still counting, and we cannot get waste disposal right. We're not ready.
The poor waste management system and then the flooding, they go hand in hand. So I just want to ask, would you think this is a challenge for the government? Because then again, we have the rules, don't dump your waste, and every other thing that the state government puts in place, but then people do not obey this. So is this a challenge for the government? Would you say the government cannot handle its residents?
No. You know, just like every other society, you know, these things are when you are trained for a long time. When you do something, when you are trained to do something, you know, right from day one, you will comply. You will comply. We are not throwing our hands up into surrender. We are doing our work. We are not complaining. But we are doing advocacy. We are talking. We are having meetings. We go for retreats. We talk to Lagosians through radio and television. We will continue to do that until we get civilized in such a way that you cannot, when you finish your bottled water, you know, through the window. We'll get to a time when people will not do it again. We'll get to a time when you don't see, you know, plastics on our roads, you know, silicone paper, this takeaway place, you will not see it.
Environmental pollution is not the only challenge residents face as a result of improper waste disposal. The rising issue of climate change, a resulting effect of human activities, has upset the balance of nature. Rising sea levels, extreme weather conditions and intense droughts can wreak havoc on people's livelihoods and communities. A visit to an environmentalist helps paint a clearer picture of the disaster that awaits Lagos State if nothing is done about the nonchalance of residents and the government.
In Lagos, we have a situation where dump sites are located or sited away from the community, but there is no restriction that halts urbanization to that located dump site. So, for example, there's a place called Yanoba. The place was located about 25 years ago, and it was far from city. But there was no restriction in terms of urbanization, urban development. Today, there are houses surrounding that dump site. So, health-wise, the people living around that place are not safe. That's one. The Olusosun dump site at Ojota, when it was located, houses were far from that place. You know, it's a place that in those days, because the methane, when the heat from methane starts coming out, you see smoke coming out. You think they are burning the waste. They are not. It's the methane that is reacting. All right. So you see this is from distance. But today, houses have been built around that place, such that people who are living there, they are not safe. The water system is poisoned. It's not safe. All right. Then the methane that comes out of that emits from that place, it's not safe for the humans living around there.
Lagos State generates 13,000 tons of waste daily, but not all of the waste ends up at designated dump sites. Some end up in canals, drains, and on the road.
In terms of management of the dump sites, usually in most countries, these things are kind of like privatized to companies who are genuinely involved in environmental activities, to experts who understand this thing. Right? The government cannot do it alone. The government is expected to generate, to bring up, put up legislations. You know, they are supposed to be a kind of, they try to stabilize within the private sector and the public sector, right? But they are not expected to manage the dump sites. Professionals who understands the dangers and the kind of harmful chemicals that comes out of that dump site are supposed to manage the dump site. But here, an agency was created, LOMA, to manage that dump site, okay? And those dump sites are not well managed. We gathered every year to discuss environment issues in Lagos State. You know, we call it the Climate Change Summit, where a session is dedicated to waste management. It was during that particular period we introduced this idea of having separating waste. But ever since then, the advocacy on separation of waste has been poor. It has been put aside. So waste management in Lagos State now is poor. There was a time they made it mandatory for every house, every building to have a waste bins, the big bins. Then Loma produced all those things. Today, what do we have? Do we have them at all? People have to find a way to just get their waste sorted out somewhere. During the same time of Ashola, every last Saturday of the month was the Environmental Sanitation Day, where everybody in the community will meet and they will discuss and they will see what they can do. Okay, these are the issues, these are the community issues, how they dump their waste, if they are going to dig the floor, and a lot of things they do. But since they cancelled the monthly sanitation, what has been happening? People pay less concern in terms of what happens within the environment, especially on waste disposal.
This sight and the smell being emitted and inhaled is a regular sight and way of life for Lagosians. Dumping waste at designated dump sites located around residential areas are a breeding ground for different sorts of contagious illnesses. Despite the fetid smell, trading activities take place around these dump sites, while motorists, passers-by and residents close to the dump sites battle with the stench daily.
I'm not okay with it because I have breathing issue. Though I thank God that God is taking control. But this thing has affected me again after I got cured. So government should do something about it.
It has affected everybody around this place. Both residents, bypassers, everybody. Every living human being is being affected by this thick smoke here.
According to the World Health Organization, globally, almost 1 in 10 people are estimated to fall ill every year from eating contaminated food, while 420,000 die from foodborne diseases, which can be deadly, especially in children under 5 years of age, and out of the 420 deaths, 1/3 are children. The World Health Body also says making the environment healthier can prevent about 13 million deaths yearly and avoid 13% to 37% of the world's disease burden.
When this place has been contaminated with pollutants, with debris, it blocks the flow of water. And so because it blocks the flow of water, and this was originally a canal that would have served as a route for water to move, the water comes up and fills people's homes.
Sometimes when you see children with diarrhea, you battle and they die. You cry, you feel depressed. I remember in one of the situations, one of the instances, the baby was probably playing, a day before and got bad. The mother, they were trying to do what they like. But by the time they brought the baby, the lady was bad. An emergency room, the baby died.
The revelation by the medical practitioners raised some form of concern as I proceeded to the Lagos State Primary Healthcare Board for an interview with the permanent secretary of the board, Ibrahim Akinwumi Mustafa, after an official request through a letter submitted at the office of the permanent secretary and series of calls and message exchanges with the public Relations Officer of the board, Olumide Filani. My continuous request for an interview with the permanent secretary was turned down with jet lag as an excuse. The request for statistics of Lagos State residents who have been treated for cholera and other diseases contracted through food or water since the start of 2022 was also turned down, as I was informed that such data cannot be easily provided to me for reasons best known to the board.
Coming from weeks back where I was told I could get the statistics or the data, it seems like a failed day.
However, according to the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, in its July 4th to 31st, 2022 report, citing routine case-based data and outbreak line lists retrieved by the National Cholera Technical Working Group, Lagos had 47 suspected cases of cholera, with 1 death. Also, the European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control states that as of July 31st, 2022, a total of 3,610 cholera cases, including 91 deaths, were reported from 31 states in Nigeria, and that as of September 16th, 2022, 1,087 suspected cholera cases, including 13 deaths, were reported in Nigeria. A sit-down interview with a public health expert on the way forward is next on the agenda as Dr. Akanem narrates the poor living condition of Lagosians and its side effects.
I have managed a number of patients who had cholera, some had hepatitis A, some had amoebic dysentery, and others had diarrhea. And of course, there are clear symptoms of this condition, like vomiting, stooling, of course, like abdominal pain, and many other symptoms that are characteristics of cholera or amoebic dysentery or hepatitis A. I've practically seen cases where people also have their food stuff, their fruits and other things they sell, edible commodities, fall into gutters, fall into flood water, and they still pick it up and sell it to Lagosians. These are some of the things that are causing the myriads of diseases that we see in Lagos year in, year out. Have you wondered why Lagos is the epicenter of disease infection across the length and breadth of Nigeria? It's because of the poor drainage and the poor disposal of waste. Unfortunately, these are the things that we are experiencing in Lagos. This must stop, and for this to stop, we must improve our sewage disposal, we must improve the disposal of waste materials, and we must limit air pollution as much as possible.
Taking a walk around the surrounding of the health expert's residence, and you can tell the reason behind his passionate call for a cleaner Lagos.
I stay in Lagos, and I can tell you that in my location where I stay in Lagos, waste is not properly disposed. The gutters are very dirty, and there's no conscious effort to ensuring that Lagos is clean. We pay our dues as at when due, but unfortunately, the waste management agencies are not doing their work.
In July 2022, an unprecedented 2-day rainfall claimed the lives of 3 children of the same parents and 4 adults at the Mercy of Christ Apostolic Church in Lagos State. This is one of the many incidents that have transpired in the state, with many living in fear during the rainy season.
On the 8th day of that continuous rainfall, which was on a Sunday, the entire Lagos was flooded. And I have a personal friend who works with a bank who was called to come restore funds in the ATM machine. He went there and he was coming back with the wife, and they got their vehicles got taken over by the heavy flow of water, and they dumped them in the wide drainage around Bagada. And after 3 days, that was when they saw their bodies, and this person I'm talking about happens to be my account manager at the GT Bank as at then. So that's my own experience. There are a lot of experiences in Lagos that we have experienced, even in other cities as well. Drains, even in other cities outside Lagos State, where flooding has been responsible for, unnecessary and loss of life, and so. And that wasn't the only experience. In that particular year, about a total of 21 people died across Lagos State in different communities.
May we not have the kind of flooding we have in other climes, which will lead to the deaths of hundreds of people. That's one that almost 1,000 people died, I think, either in Pakistan or so. First, government will sympathize with the people. This is a natural thing that we cannot prevent. You sympathize, show empathy.
The National Emergency Management Agency says flood has claimed the lives of over 300 people in 2022, with the figure on the rise as bad roads and blocked drainages have led to increased flooding. A World Bank publication, Cost of Pollution in Lagos, estimates that illness and premature deaths due to ambient air pollution caused losses of $2.1 billion in 2018, representing 2.1% of the state's GDP.
For the government, the environmental challenges residents face is no fault of theirs, but mainly that of the residents. Nigeria's commercial hub and former capital was ranked 171 out of 172 countries in the list of the world's second least livable urban area and worst city in Africa, leaving the city with its economic, political and security challenges to also dwell in a heap of waste. Mary Kanu, TV360, Nigeria.
Nigerians, elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. Do not be a thug. Say no to violence. Let's rise and defeat violence, crime, and sabotage against the peace of our nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement, terrorism, fake news, hate speech, religious bigotry, and any act that tends to divide us as a nation. Watch out for strange gatherings and suspicious movements. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant legal security guidelines to protect yourself and your neighbors. Due to misinformation and wrong choices, some idle persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. They resort to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Avoid wrong use of the social media. Before you broadcast that false message, think twice. Ask whether it will promote peace or violence. For safety at home, still be security conscious. Educate your household on safety tips. Report all suspicious movements and persons to the security agencies nearest to you. Be a good citizen. Be patriotic. To pass security information, please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908-837-3514, or send a mail to dsspr@dss.gov.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services, DSS.
The famous Benin bronzes, because the term ancient has been kind of referred to in a way that implies that it's a dead civilization. And what I mean by that is people don't necessarily know that we are still living, that actually even after the bronzes were stolen, we continued making bronzes here. The bronzes have been made the same way and passed down through these guilds which make these artifacts. But these artifacts were treated in museums like dinosaur fossils and things that they dug from the earth. They're not actually associated with the living civilization of Benin. And so that is why today is called This is Ancient Benin. Because we are an ancient culture, we are still living. You just saw some of the songs and dances and the traditional dance troupes. You know, we have been singing these songs for thousands of years, you know, for a very, very long time. You know, but we want to showcase that we're still making artifacts and that we're living civilizations. So, so I hope that you'll be interested and you'll enjoy what you see here today.
And we put our hands together for the yourself. And so where is Mr. Lucas Okoro? Lucas!
This event is called This is Ancient Benin because as you can see, we recreated what ancient Benin used to look like. So you're in this exhibit now, which is showcasing Benin's first guild.
This work is actually called The Return of Oba. So it's a hieroglyph. It's the largest Benin bronze plaque ever made, and I made it to depict the fact that ancient Benin is called ancient Benin because of its age, not because it's a dead civilization. That actually we've been living for a long time as an ancient civilization, and the traditions and the culture that we practice have been passed down and continue till this day. So, for example, Benin actually has the oldest living guilds in the world, including the guilds of broadcasting, the guilds of wood carving, and these are guilds where membership is passed down, you know, by heritage, and they're ongoing. So, it's interesting because, you know, we've recently, you know, the foreign museums have finally agreed to return some of the stolen Benin bronze artifacts. So, it's interesting to be unveiling this work because I wanted to show that the fact that at no point did we ever stop making these bronzes the same way after they were stolen. There is this misconception, actually a dissociation of ancient Benin and actually the Benin bronzes from Benin people themselves. Benin people are not associated with the Benin bronzes. We're not even associated. The museums that house these bronzes actually created the concept of ancient Benin as a way of dissociating Benin people from those bronzes, because ancient Benin became some kind of archaeological, you know, discovery, like they went and dug out the bronzes like dinosaur fossils, which is not true. You know, the bronzes, we've still been making them since today, even the same way. So I wanted to show that we can still make new artifacts and artifacts that have just as more, if not more, value than the ones that they stole, using the exact same traditional methods. This actually also is to demonstrate the fact that our bronze plaques and our bronze works were a form of writing. So in 2019, I actually launched a petition to have the UK museums officially classify the Benin bronzes and the Benin plaques as hieroglyphs, which I feel is important because they were a form of writing. And usually when people hear the term hieroglyph, they're associated with ancient Egypt. You know, people are used to seeing their drawings, and there was a form of writing. But the Benin bronzes and the Benin arts have not actually been given that same recognition, that these are not just mere artworks. They're actually our way of writing. And so I wanted to actually showcase that by writing the story of Obayawari I in bronze. And so that's exactly what this depicts here. This is a very interesting hieroglyph because it shows the true story of Obayawari I, who we call Obayawari Ogidigan, who is Obayawari the Great. He is probably the most revered and most appreciated Oba from Benin history. Essentially, he was the first real emperor and the first real warrior king of Benin, and he's credited as essentially turning it from a kingdom into a full-fledged empire. So he was a really, really great ruler of Benin, and he lived in 1400s. And so the story here simultaneously depicts two things. It depicts the true story of Obayawari I, but it simultaneously is depicting the Benin traditional belief in reincarnation. So in our traditional and Benin culture believe in reincarnation, and we believe that, you know, people have 7 lives and were reincarnated 7 to 9 times. So it's very interesting, and I wanted to depict that. And the reason it's simultaneously depicting those two things is because this bronze was made during the time of Obayawari II, who is our current Oba of Benin. And when an Oba takes the name of an Oba that previously lived, it's believed that that Oba is the reincarnation of the Oba. The work is about 7 by 7 feet long and wide, and it's made out of 2 tons of pure brass. So it's complete brass, and it's so obviously quite heavy. Interesting to be unveiling this work because the British museums and German museums and some other European museums finally agreed, after many long decades of campaigning from the palace and campaigning from Benin, to have these artifacts returned. They finally agreed some kind of arrangement to return them. And so this is a way of showing that we're still capable of making the same artifacts. In fact, even better and bigger now. And that I'm actually offering this artifact to the British Museum in appreciation for the fact that they're returning our stolen artifacts. And by doing so, I believe that we can change the narrative of what museums represent. And museums have this tarnished reputation now because of their association with looted and stolen artifacts. And it's almost becoming politically incorrect to even visit museums now because there's been a lot of growing momentum towards the campaign of returning these looted artifacts. But we believe we can change this narrative because it's possible to actually give museums actual artifacts that are handed to them freely and not stolen, by giving an artifact that has historical value and saying we're willing for you to have an artifact in appreciation that returning the stolen ones and no longer having that taint. And it's a way of showcasing living history. Part of what this represents is the interest in establishing, in promoting our living history.
gives me great pleasure, more so that a youngster like the gentleman whose work we are celebrating will return home from Britain and dive right straight to the culture that he really doesn't know too much about, but the interest is there. He came back home and then he started to do everything that you have been exposed to and that we have, been told about. It's amazing and it's very impressive. It's not only magical, it's spiritual. I mean, can you imagine having the opportunity to see something that is been over, 200 years old? It's spiritual. It's like having the opportunity to see your parents of that era. So, as Benins, we are very proud of our culture and we hold them in very high esteem. They mean a whole lot to us. And for we to have them back, it's something that we'll be very grateful for. When those artifacts were in existence, there was no Nigeria. When those artifacts were in existence before the invasion, there was no Edo State. The only place that existed then was the Oba Palace and the Benin Kingdom. If those artifacts were taken away from Benin Kingdom, do we need to tell anybody? Do we need to argue where it needs to go to? It is the property of the Oba of Benin and the entire history of the kingdom. The final resting place for those artifacts is the palace, nowhere else. We are not an ancient culture. We are Benin, and the Benin people have ancient history that is still alive. This young man has proven that now, that even though we think things are going into extinction, this is reassuring that, there's so much ahead of us. There's plenty of hope that our culture will survive and will continue to survive. Our culture is here to stay, now and forever.
When you look how far the diverse fields where this man is coming from the medical field, and is doing their two opposites, and is doing this our artworks, our artifacts. We all know that those are two very, very diverse fields. And then it was also pushed out of what we call a pandemic. So it leaves me what people call wow. So we are proud of him. This is genius work, and it gives us hope because artifacts, guilds, people see them in different lights. A lot of people see them as paintings, a lot of people see them as artwork, but for us as Beninese, contemporary Benin, our artifacts are our history. And you can see what he did in the first, up there. He linked each of the various works with our history, up till the crown that the king was wearing, down to his brothers, and how they lived in the palace or in ancient Benin. Everything is interconnected. So it's a history. It is not just an artwork or a picture. It tells us about our forefathers and our forebears. So we are happy that, like I said, it's a journey's work. We're happy. As a people, you must know where you are coming from to know, you understand. It shapes where you're going to. So the government is already committing resources towards more archaeological research on our history as a people. So with young men like this coming on board, like I said in my speech, in the speech from His Excellency, he and his team, it tells you that we have 100 of them out there. They just need to be encouraged and tapped. They have serious roles to play in shaping our future. There is a lot to be done, but what you have taken unlawfully, you have to return. That is what we are asking for. That's why we're asking everybody. So we have 1,001 Osarobos out there that are ready to do something and give out as gifts. We have been giving them gifts over the years. So we are happy we are receiving what they took away. Work is going on. It's a continuous work. It is not, the artifacts are not coming in a day. So we are prepared to receive the artifacts.
I'm so excited and I'm so happy that in my time this thing is happening, because we had thought that the Benin culture was dying slowly. And to come and see young men, very young men who have been abroad all their life, come to Benin and they're able to set up all these things. You can see all the things, the artwork they did. It's marvelous and we are happy and it's awesome. And my advice to the youth is that they should not be lazy. They should find things they can do with their hands. It's not always you think you can make money by hammering. You can make money by doing 419. You can make money really by going down to the root and find things to do with your hand. And these things will cost money and yield money to you. See what happened today now. See what has been given to the youth to go on and invest in their businesses.
This one will give a lot of young ones idea and lesson. When they say people from Edo State, they're always going to Italy, Libya, this and this, Yahoo, but not everybody. I advise them to sit down, think what to do in your country. You will succeed.
In love with my culture. Not just that I'm here, if you look around here now, you'll find quite there are things about culture all over me. And I have written 1 or 2 books on our culture. So he knows that it's one of those things that I like. And I'm a chief and the head of the chiefs of the Benin Kingdom. If he's going to be my son, he will realize that if he hates culture, he's going to find things difficult. a surprise to me. Like I said, he went to university. That's where we sent him. To come back home and take a right about turn and start doing something else. First of all, he wants to promote a story by way of acts, cultural actions. He wants to tell the story of Obaewa the First by producing a play on him. All those that place was a marketplace where we had to put those. Those were supposed to be the marketplace for that play. And he built 2 other houses. One of them, a palace. Behind the house, that one, after 2 years, we had to get rid of them. He wanted to do, and you see, if my son starts showing that he likes my culture, it makes me happy. The boy had been there. He visited the British Museum. And the things he saw there, something they wrote, annoyed him. And when he came back, he talked about it. And he said, the artifact that people are talking about, they put it in downstairs in the holograms and under the they didn't put them in the proper museum. They are down in the tunnels. So he was annoyed. As far as I'm concerned, they stole artifacts. I have been, my Oba, the President Oba's father, sent me to London with 1 or 2 chiefs, with one of his brothers as well. And he wrote a letter to our people there, the Benin Union of Great Britain, that they should join me in trying to. We went to Parliament to go and plead that we want our artifacts. I've been in this thing for a long time. The point is, they stole our artifacts. And if they are having a mind change to return it, let them return it without any strings attached. There were no strings when they stole them. We want our artifacts. They stole them from the palace, and they burnt the palace thereafter. They should return the artifacts to where they stole them. That's all I am interested in.
We are here to celebrate a new Guild in the ancient city of Benin Kingdom in affiliation with what it used to be the ancient Guild versus the contemporary Guild. So today we are here with Mr. Lucas to a launching of a contemporary atmosphere for creative artists in Edo State. Here I'm to exhibit my sculptures, which is made of spark plugs. The story behind this is turning trash to wealth. that is the purpose of these sparkler sculptures. That was the key thing that instigated this art form. So as we see here, we have a total of 4,000 pieces of spark plugs and a couple of 300 pieces of tire valves to create this magnificent art piece. Before this time, my sculptures were mainly in bronze because I come from a family in Edo State who is into bronze casting, a lineage of bronze casting. So at some point I had to go to school to further expand my knowledge in sculpture. And during this process, I came in contact with metal sculpture, junk sculptures. So during my final year project, I had to do something different from the usual. Then I noticed the use of spark plugs wasn't in circulation, so I had to put in energy into creating sparkler sculptures. Like that is using spark plugs as a medium in sculpture, and that's how I came up with this. Some of the challenges I have with working with spark plugs, it's about its rigidity. You know, ordinarily we're supposed to work with materials that are easily manipulated to create forms. But the challenge I have with spark plug is that it's a rigid material. So what I do basically is to have an off-cut because the plug is made of both ceramics and metal. So what I do sometimes to create my intricate forms is to break off the ceramic part of the spark plugs, which will help me create some intriguing forms, which in all together it wouldn't give me that. So when I break off the ceramics part, I think it helps me create such forms. The repatriation of our artifacts from British museums and other international foreign bodies, it's a welcome development for me because it's a homecoming event for me, because these are the things that instigated us into these creative platforms that we're in today, because it's just like taking off your history from you, and today it's being brought back in your own time. So for me, it's a welcome development. I would like to see them. I like to touch, if possible, I like to touch them to see what my ancestors did, because I know in some years from now, people will look up to my art as we look up to what is coming now. So it's a great deal for me as an artist. My advice to the government is to see to it that the creative minds here who are still based in the city of Benin should be encouraged, should be given much more better platform to express themselves, give them platform to exhibit what they have on ground. Yeah, it is a good thing to welcome the artifacts that are coming, but my view is, what about the artists that are still based there? What value should we do? So it is better also we encourage these people. I think the best thing to do is encouragement, like give them a platform to express themselves more. And I think this also will help the incoming artists. This will help more people to want to come into this field when they see people of their kind from the same region going beyond their shores just with the work of art. So I believe this will help them pick interest in wanting to come up with this as well.
first time I was here to locate the Ghanaian cane weaving community, a Nigerian told me point blank that these Ghanaians will steal my money. I was curious and I wondered why these two nationalities who share the same profession would have such level of animosity between them. And I'm here to find out why. If you're familiar with Maryland in Lagos, it is difficult to miss this beautiful display of handmade cane crafts. Beneath the Maryland Bridge, linking the Ojota area of the city, cane-based products such as chairs of all varieties, living room sitters, house decor, as well as baskets of all shapes and sizes are sold here. But behind this lush display of artistic brilliance lies a culture of discrimination against the migrant population of Ghanaian cane artisans, one which has been in practice for decades now. Unlike their Nigerian counterparts, Ghanaian cane artisans are restricted to a remote part of this cane weaving community. So what is the genesis of this unfair practice, and why has it been perpetrated for so long? To find out, we paid a visit to Monkey Village, just behind the Maryland cane weaving community, where the Ghanaian cane weavers live and work. This is Monkey Village, right here in Mende, Maryland, Lagos, Nigeria. In what appears to be the outback of the area, Ghanaian cane weavers are not allowed to venture beyond these parameters. While Nigerians are allowed to display their products, Ghanaians serve as laborers who manufacture these cane products for a fixed price. 54-year-old Adeyemi Bolarinwa concentrates hard as he weaves this basket. His calloused hands work deftly, and in a matter of minutes, he finishes one of his orders. Bolarinwa's father is Nigerian, but his mother is Ghanaian. Despite his being a Nigerian, Bolarinwa cannot sell his products directly to buyers. He can only sell to a group of Nigerian cane weavers, who in turn sell directly to customers. It's a rule among the Cane Weavers Association here which restricts non-Nigerian cane weavers from dealing directly with customers.
They brought some job for one Nigerian man, according to the history, from 1986. Then the man delayed the job, and they saw another Ghanaian man. They went to, that's a Sheraton hotel. So they went to the Ghanaian man. The Ghanaian man did the thing in time as they want. So the contract go to that Ghanaian man. So then, now those people are the indigenous work against foreigners that they can share a place together. So the moment they granted that law still will work from 86 up to by this time. So Ghanaians don't have any choice to meet customers or something like sell in direct. So always we are in backyard that when they receive the order, they come and give us a job. That's the situation where we are facing now.
As migrant workers, Bolarinwa says he and other Ghanaians have no choice than to obey this restrictive rule. So they keep their heads low and make the best of their meager income.
A stranger cannot be like citizen. So we have no choice and there's no any help. Because if someone came that we want to give you advance, they used to tell the person that this is a foreigner, we used to take your money around or something like that. So we have no choice. We are there in panic. And we just manage it because that's a handicraft. That's a hand job. We can't. That's my professional. No, actually, it's my professional. So anyhow, bear it. I'll manage it.
We asked Bolarinwa if the Ghanaian cane weaving community in Maryland had made any attempt to report to relevant authorities. He says no one has come to help despite many complaints.
We used to let people from Ghana embassy to come and interview us at times. But there's no help. There's no help. We try a lot. We joined their group, Nagacon and this and that, but at times, the way the thing they go, we see that there's no help. So the work will be like a struggle, with a struggle for our needs. Anyhow, we manage it and bear it.
It gives further details of the mode of operation between the Nigerian cane sellers and the Ghanaian cane weavers.
We arrange every basket within price, where it's a popular no. Then any quantity where the person want to come and book from you, he can give you advance. Then after finishing the product, we take your balance. That's the way we are going. Then I submit for them, I take my balance. Some people are pay cash, some people can give you in half basis. He can give you advance. When you finish, supply the thing to the who come and done the work with you. Then you take your balance from. We have no chance because there's no shade. He cannot give you, as a foreigner, he cannot give you shade to shade your market. They share by themselves.
Kwaku Noah is another Ghanaian cane weaver in Maryland. For 15 years, Kwaku has struggled to make ends meet due to the trade inequality he suffers.
Maybe the price we are going to sell for woman as this back here. If I did roadside, one day, God goes see me about a better customer where I can sell for the person where I go see gain pass where I did. So it affects us. So if we are on the roadside, I'm sure say we go see better customer pass, better price pass what we are gaining as the back here.
Fed up with the unpleasant situation, a number of Ghanaian cane weavers have either moved back to their home country or adopted other trades. Now the once boisterous community has become a shadow of itself.
Before, we are more than 20 or 30 people. Right now, I remember maybe roughly, I can say about 5 or 4 people now. We remain. Before we are more than 37, but things know the balance. And then, they gain assist to support the work. Everything I'm money now, so if you know gain a way to get something assist your business, you can go forward. So right now, I know they're easy for us. As you can settle another side like that, it's money, because to get a place to stay, it's money, but I to money no day on hand like that.
To confirm these allegations and to understand the root cause of the act of discrimination against the Ghanaian cane weavers in Maryland area of Lagos, I paid a visit to the chairman of the Cane Weavers Association in Maryland, Dennis Omadide. Surprisingly, Omadide confirms everything we've heard from the Ghanaian cane weavers. He explains that the Ghanaians are restricted for 2 major reasons. They work fast and they charge less. These 2 factors, he says, could disrupt the profit margins of Nigerian artisans.
To make the market so polluted, that's what I mean. But they produce fast. They produce fast. So by the time you are trying to draw a kind of item that will come to market, it's like this. Then when they overflow, then that market will not depreciate on that area. The reason why we do that, they are trying to frustrate the market in terms of sales in the beginning. So that's why we notice that instead of that to happen, let us stay on their own, then we should stay on our own.
Omadide says while the migrants are not allowed to mix with Nigerians and display their trade, they are however free to establish their business in other locations.
That is the normal procedure, the constitution, what we have. That when they come, they will work for us. We normally collect basket from there to sell to our customer. So we don't want them to close to us in that way. It's like they will know how much we have selling to the other. So that is why they not do it. But for now, it is old. For now, they have assets free, direct to customer. But they are not the midst of us here. Some day for Abanikoro, some day are turning down. That is how.
So whose responsibility is it to protect the interests of Ghanaians in Nigeria? We had requested an official response from the Ghanaian consulate in Lagos to find out if the mission is aware of the discrimination and what it is doing to stop the menace. TV360 Nigeria did not receive an official response from the Ghanaian consulate, but in a meeting we had with the Consul General, Senator Gifte Bukari, key officials of the consulate, the president of the Ghanaian community in Lagos, Augustine Appiah, as well as the Ghanaian cane weaver, Charles Sapong, it appears the consulate is aware of the problem, but may not want to ruffle any feather. I'm just coming out from a meeting with the Ghanaian Consulate General, Senator Gifty Bukari, who appeared irate about a request for an interview, especially the part that spoke about publishing the findings of this investigation with or without an official response from the consulate. Now the Consulate General declined to give an official interview on what she's doing to ensure that Ghanaian cane weavers in the Mende area of Lagos are not discriminated against. Now, our phones were confiscated and we are not allowed to take any recordings. As the second largest country with a migrant population of over 1.3 million, Nigeria has a national policy to address labor migration issues. Page 21 and 22 of the National Policy on Labor Migration clearly states that migrant workers have the right to negotiate by collective bargaining, enjoy freedom of movement, as well as upholding equal treatment and non-discrimination regardless of migration status. But it appears some Nigerian businesses are not willing to accommodate migrants. Director General of Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, Nasima Shola Obadimu, says the unfair treatment of Ghanaian cane weavers is nothing short of bullying.
It's just a case of bullying. It's to some level a case of harassment. You know, even within the Nigerian environment, you can open a shop and start selling pepper, and the second day some people will come to you that they want to seal your shop.
So is there any law in Nigeria limiting the trading activities of migrant workers in Nigeria?
We have this ECOWAS treaty that encourages free movement of goods and services within the West African sub-region. So for West African nationals, they can do their business freely. We have Nigerians doing businesses all along the West African coast. So if they are West African nationals, they can do their business. So far it is a legit business, and when they are operating within the laws of Nigeria, they are free citizens.
Sadly, the problem of discrimination of migrant workers is not peculiar to Nigeria alone. There have been documented cases of discrimination against Nigerians in Ghana, xenophobic acts against other Africans in South Africa, and the general attitude of hostility against Africans, which experts say has affected the social, political, and economic cohesion of the continent.
As a Nigerian, if I'm heading up to Ghana, there's this orientation, European orientation, that yes, I'm heading up the north of Africa. So they don't see this whole reality of trade between borders and trade within African countries. They just see everybody as a suspected migrant, as prospective migrants. So heading up to Ghana means you may be heading up further to Mauritania or to Libya or Morocco, such thing. So and in this whole situation, people are made to be criminal, made to appear like criminals, because the moment you go across the barriers, the borders, and then you are not with the right documents, so to say, then you are seen as a criminal. And being a criminal means, yes, you are being identified as somebody who is illegal. And then you can see from this perspective, when one migrant does something that is wrong, so it is tied to a lot of other migrants at the end of the day. So we have this whole problem in the world now where we prejudice, or we just wrap up figures to say when one person is bad, the first person you meet at the end of the day, you just wrap up his tribe to be part of this whole problem.
They are what's affected because they are not captured and documented. So their country is not aware they are here, and our country is not aware they are here. I mean documentation-wise. Okay, so people like that will hardly go to the embassy to make reports or report to the Nigerian authority. Most times they will look for a way to manage the situation for as long as they can before they leave. So what can be done is that it goes back to the same point I made before, that our orientation agency, you understand, must make sure that they talk about these things. It's not talked about.
Bolariwa and Kweku may have resigned to fate and lost all hope of ever competing fairly with their Nigerian counterparts, but these talented cane weavers hold on to the dream of returning to their homeland someday, where they can live and work freely without fear or discrimination. Folashade Ogurinde, TV360 News.
Our make a chop attitude to governance now what is spoil Nigeria reach today. Refineries of quick fixing. NNPC recently signed an agreement with Daewoo Construction Nigeria Limited for the rehabilitation of the Kaduna Refinery in what was described as a proposed quick fix initiative expected to restore the refinery to a minimum of 60% of its capacity by the fourth quarter of 2024 at a cost of $740.6 million. Oh boy, see money. NNPC claimed that the last time this refinery was maintained, or what they call turnaround maintenance, was 15 years ago. Even a same refinery with refining capacity of 110,000 barrels per day has not produced any fuel for years. But we all know recently recorded a loss of 22.9 billion naira in 2021. You are not working, just a chop money. Even though we agree that restoring the Warrior and Kaduna Refinery back to its operation will guarantee energy security for the country and reduce our dependence on imported petroleum products, also reduce pressure on forests, guarantee fuel supply, eradicate long queues in our filling station, and end this debate about should there be subsidy or not. But I want to ask, is it quick fix that is needed for a refinery that has not been functional or maintained for 15 years, or a complete overhaul, rehabilitation, and revamping? What is the working capacity of the nitrogen plant in Kaduna Refinery? At least Warrior, we know say not even get. To at least to guarantee preservation of the equipment, since almost all the equipment go down corrode, including the storage tanks and the pipelines within the refinery. Even the power plant in the refinery has not been working. As we all know, say, now PHCN, they power the refinery. When PHCN on their own, they use generator on their own office. Nigeria, our own dear motherland. If you are quick fixing a 110,000 barrel refinery at the cost of $740 million, how much do you need to build an entirely new refinery of such capacity? We like to spend money uselessly here. Is Daewoo a refinery construction or maintenance company where they don't build refinery before, where they don't maintain one before? What happened to the original builders of this refinery? Also, since Kaduna no get seaports that we can use VLCC, large vessels to carry crude to, how NNPC want to transport crude from the Niger Delta to Kaduna if not be pipeline? What is the operational capacity or integrity of this pipeline to determine if they can still carry crude to the refinery? Considering the fact that the pipeline, having been unoperational for years, would have been corroded by water, insecurity, and vandalism. Was any integrity test conducted on the pipeline? And what is the outcome of this integrity test? What is the value of the contract for repairing, overhauling, revamping, or quick fixing the said pipeline and storage facility, if at all? What alternative means, if any, is NNPC going to use to transport crude from Niger Delta to Kaduna, if not pipeline? Why is Nigeria building gas pipeline to Europe if pipelines are no longer necessary? Anyway, hope this would end up as the case of the Omoku power plant that was built and commissioned by Odili and Obasanjo, if you can remember those days, only for them to discover on the day of commissioning that there was no gas pipeline built and connected to the power plant that will gas the power plant to power it. We even hear say that night they used generator to commission, and Omoku people sleep for darkness even though they had a power plant. How do you award a contract to quickly fix a refinery when never worked for years to people when never build or repair refinery before? And yet, also no contract to fix the pipelines when we carry crude go the refinery. We dey think at all for this country. Anyway, I hope this quick fix no be last minute cleaning up for some people in government, you know now. I will therefore advocate that whilst we are debating about the political parties and their candidates, or my thief is better than your thief, we should not lose sight of the facts of the happenings around government ministries, parastatals, and agency. We should consistently scrutinize the activities and seek answers to pertinent questions concerning any contract awarded at this time. As this time usually is a quick cleanup for certain persons. We know quick fix has never fixed anything. So hope they are not quick fixing this money into their pocket. Remember, if you remove your eyes from government activities at this critical time, you'll be shocked to realize after the election that you not only meet an empty treasury, even the treasury box, somebody don't whisk them away. That's all time will permit us to take for today. But for previous episodes, just follow us on all our social media platforms shown on your screen, and there are loads of them there. And like we say in law, you can't put something on nothing and expect it to stand. It will fall like a pack of cards. So even those stealing and destroying our pipelines are part of the general problem of Nigeria. So report pipeline vandalism. See you next week.
What we really go through is not really meant for humans, because when you're there, like in a small room whereby you maybe like people of 10 people should be in, you come across like 100 people in a particular small room, and when you want to sleep, you have to sleep with your side. Everyone sleeps on sides. You understand? So there's no more space, and you want to eat yourself or make use of the toilet, it's just in front of you. So you can inhale the odor of the toilet, which is not conducive for the human health. So, and apart from that one, the weather is very, very cold, extremely cold. And at night, you don't have something like blankets that will be given to you. So it's not really good for the body, to be precise. And in terms of feeding, you're being given just a long bread. We call it hamsa. Just a long bread. That's your meal. They'll give you three of it. That's your meal for your lunch, your breakfast, and your dinner, which is not healthy at all. I was deported, and I was deported back to the border of Algeria and Mali. Okay, so when we were deported there, it was a Sahara desert, to be precise. That's where they will leave you. And when they leave you in that border between Algeria and Mali, you have to walk 7 kilometers to the border of Mali, and we call that 7 kilometers to hellfire, because it's extremely hot over there. Some of them that is already, you were not really giving food well when you were in the camps. You don't have the strength to even walk. Some of them died along the way. Some of them, I'm not gonna lie you, have to drink their own urine just to survive, to have strength to be able to go to that next borderline of the Algeria. So it's really, really hectic. You have to make a choice to go back to Algeria, or you have to go back to Morocco. And when you're being taken to the border of Algeria, the Algerian militants, they open fire on the militants of the Moroccans. So they don't have to hide. Or they can just tell you, okay, just go this way, just go down the valley, just stick like this. That is Algeria. So if you want to go back to Algeria, you will not have to surrender yourself to the militants of the Algerians. They will not put you in deportation camp. They do not have to deport you back to Mali. So it's like you're being deported from one country to another. And you can imagine the shape of the deportation camp in Mali there. It is, oh God, it's unexplainable. I believe, I won't lie, I believe I spent 16 years in this journey.
On transit.
On transit.